All right, folks, today we're peeling back the layers on a scandal that's got everyone from Music Row to Hollywood scratching their heads. It's Garth Brooks, America's country music sweetheart, facing off against some of the dirtiest accusations you could throw against a guy: sexual assault, harassment, and battery. But wait, before you grab your torches and pitchforks, there's a twist. Garth isn't just sitting around waiting for the smoke to clear. He's fighting back and saying, not so fast. Because according to Garth, these accusations are all part of a sleazy, calculated scheme to shake him down for millions of dollars. And honestly, the more we dig into the details, the sketchier the accusations against him look. So who's the accuser and what's her game? We're talking about a former hair and makeup artist who suddenly pops up with allegations years after the supposed instances, right around the time she's dealing with some serious financial problems of her own. It's a story full of shady timing, suspicious demands, and more holes than a block of Swiss cheese. Is this a case of real victimization or just a blatant cash grab? Stick around, because we're tearing into every skeezy, eyebrow-raising move in this ongoing legal battle. All right, let's kick things off by diving into the core of the accusations and talk about the players in our little play. Deborah Williams is the hairdresser, and she claims that Garth Brooks, a legendary country star with a squeaky clean reputation, sexually assaulted her in a Los Angeles hotel room back in 2019. And that's not all. She's saying that he harassed her for years with sexually charged comments, sent inappropriate texts, and generally made her life miserable. But here's the part that should make us all raise an eyebrow. She's only coming forward now, years later, right around the time that Garth refused to keep footing her bill for her lifestyle. So here's what we know. Garth Brooks' former makeup artist, who worked with him for years without a single complaint, is now suing him for everything under the sun: assault, battery, and even violations of California laws meant to protect people from intimidation. But Garth Brooks isn't taking any of it lying down. He filed his own lawsuit, and he filed against her first. Before she could even make her allegations public, Garth hit her with a preemptive lawsuit claiming that she was making it all up to extort him for millions of dollars. Now, talk about flipping the script. So what exactly does Garth allege? He says that Deborah's claims only popped up when he refused to put her on permanent salary and give her medical benefits after she had left her job. She supposedly came to him with her hand out, asking for support, and when he declined, boom, the accusations came out of nowhere. Now, Deborah Williams didn't just want a severance package or some health insurance. She wants multi-million dollars in payout to keep quiet, according to the allegations. Now, that's not just raising a red flag, that's waving a giant, neon-colored banner that screams payday. But if you thought the demands alone weren't enough to question her motives, just wait until you hear how she handled the whole anonymity game. Spoiler alert, she wasn't playing fair, and now she's crying dirty that she's on the wrong end of the stick. Now, anonymity can be crucial in sensitive cases like this, but Deborah's actions made it look like she wasn't concerned about protecting privacy. She wanted to make a full-blown lawsuit against Garth while trying to keep her own name out of the press. Now, Garth initially tried to file as John Doe versus Jane Doe, and that would have kept both parties' names out of the public eye. He wasn't hiding, he was just trying to protect the names from a public spectacle. But what did Deborah do? Her legal team pulled a fast one and leaked his name to the press before the court could even decide on the request. That's right, Garth's name hit the headlines before the judge could even rule on the motion to keep things under their wrap. And it's not like this was some accidental slip-up. It was a well-thought-out plan. It was like they thought, if we can't win this in court, let's put pressure on them in the court of public opinion and hope that we win that way. Now, you've got to wonder, if she's so concerned about justice and being heard, why not just let the lawsuit speak for itself? Why does she feel the need to drop his name to the press? It reeks of manipulation. And when Garth decided to fire back by dropping her name in response, oh, the sudden outrage. Deborah's legal team called it retaliation and a violation of her rights as an accuser. But let's not be naive here. If you're going to play dirty by leaking his identity after he tried to keep you both out of the press and slamming him in the media, Don't be surprised when he doesn't just roll over and take it and responds in kind. So now we've got both sides out in the open, gloves off, and Deborah's motives looking shakier by the second. But Garth's not done exposing the cracks in her story. Here's where things start to really stink. Garth's team had produced letters that showed that Deborah's lawyers demanded millions of dollars in exchange for keeping his mouth shut. It sounds like a classic Hollywood extortion plot. Garth's lawsuit reveals that Deborah's demands didn't come out of the blue. They were methodically laid out in correspondence that reads more like a ransom note than a legitimate legal document. In the first letter, sent in July, Deborah's attorneys claimed that if Garth didn't cough up a significant amount of money, they'd have no choice but to go public with the allegations. And when Garth said no thanks, they doubled down with another letter in August, raising the stakes. So let's call it what it is. This wasn't a, hey, let's settle quietly kind of situation. Rather, it was a blatant attempt to leverage demanding accusations into a financial windfall. Deborah isn't seeking justice. She's chasing those dollar signs. And you know what's funny? For someone who claims to be so traumatized by these events, she sure seems to have put a price tag on her pain pretty quickly and has no shame about going public. And if you're still not convinced that something's off, buckle up, because we're about to dive into the so-called evidence she brought forward to support her claim. Spoiler alert, it's got more holes in it than a cheese grater. Now, Deborah tried to support her accusations with some backup. She submitted some text messages that she claims are proof of Garth's inappropriate behavior. But these really aren't the smoking gun that she wants them to believe they are. Rather, they seem like a tactic merely to paint Garth in the worst light possible. Let's break it down. Deborah provides some text that includes some perhaps questionable language from Garth. There's one message in particular that sends out a bit of a cringeworthy vibe, where Garth talks about his huge stick. Now, sure, that's not necessarily the greatest, but let's pump the brakes for a second. Deborah's entire case is riding on these texts being legitimate and showing a pattern of misconduct. But here's the thing. Garth's camp says she conveniently left out huge chunks of conversations and might have even tampered with her phone to make it look worse. Think about it. Who just conveniently deletes some texts but not others? And it gets weirder. Deborah also claims that Garth would switch between different phones and email accounts to communicate with her. Now, does that sound like someone who's out to victimize an employee, or does it sound like someone who knows they're dealing with a schemer who's planning to use anything and everything they say against him? Garth's team says that not only are they twisting their communications, but flat out fabricating content to fit a narrative. And honestly, considering that she's been demanding millions of dollars in hush money, it's hard not to see how these texts could be weaponized to paint a very specific picture. But it's not just about the text. Deborah's own behavior raises even more flags when you consider how she moved the goalposts on what she wants out of this lawsuit. Here's where things start to go from murky to downright suspicious. Deborah's demands have shifted faster than a politician's promises. First, it was a few $1,000,000 to keep quiet. Then it was the full-blown lawsuit with additional demands that keep piling up. Garth's legal team has laid it all out, and he refuses to cave to her financial demands. Deborah's accusations have now suddenly seemed to grow arms and legs. Suddenly, it wasn't about one alleged incident in 2019. Rather, now it's about years of harassment, sexually explicit behavior, and intimidation. Yet, for someone who's endured so much abuse, she sure was eager to keep working for him a few years more without a single complaint. It's almost like she was fine with the so-called harassment as long as the checks keep coming in. But when the money train stopped, suddenly Garth's behavior now became criminal in her eyes. Something doesn't add up here, and Garth's legal team is using the shifting narrative to dismantle her credibility piece by piece. And if you're feeling sympathetic to her plight, let's talk about the supposed emotional trauma she's enduring, because the way she's handling it doesn't exactly scream victim. Deborah's lawsuit paints a picture of a woman pushed to the brink, thoughts of self-harm, deep emotional scars, the whole 9 yards. But her actions tell a much different story. Let's be real. If you're genuinely struggling with trauma from sexual assault, would your first instinct be to launch a huge public relations campaign? Because that's exactly what Deborah did when she made sure that Garth's name hit the press before a court could even rule on the request by Garth that both their names be kept out of the press. And then she's suddenly shocked when Garth names her back. It's hard not to be skeptical when someone cries victim, but at the very same time goes on the offensive at every turn. Deborah's made a spectacle out of it. Deborah's lawyers have been vocal in the media, attacking Garth at every turn, which raises the question, is this about justice or creating a stink out of revenge? The whole situation smacks of someone trying to back a high-profile figure into a corner and using the court of public opinion as leverage. And here's where things get fishy. Deborah's legal team is still pushing for punitive damages, essentially saying we don't just want a judgment, we want to hit him where it really hurts. It's not enough to get justice. Apparently, they want to bleed Garth dry. Now, with this case careening out of control, you might think that Garth might throw in the towel, pay up, and move on. But nope, he's digging in his heels and doubling down. Because to him, this isn't just a legal battle, it's a fight for legacy. For Garth, this isn't about money or even winning on a legal technicality. He's defending who he is as a person, and he's suing back for defamation. We're talking about a guy who's built his entire career on being a good old country boy, a family man, and an all-around decent human being. And he's not about to let what he sees as a pack of lies tear him down. Garth isn't just saying that he's innocent. He's going on the offensive with a defamation lawsuit, claiming that Deborah's accusations have caused irreparable damage to his career, his family, and his charitable work. And honestly, can you blame him? No amount of money is likely to scrub these headlines from the internet in the near future, and there are always people who will now doubt him because of the allegations. So he's not settling, he's countersuing, and he's certainly not going to be offering her a dime to make it all go away. To Garth, this is about setting the record straight once and for all. If that means dragging this through the public trial he first sought to avoid and exposing Deborah's every dirty tactic in the process, then apparently so be it. Because at this point, a quiet settlement would do more harm than good. It'd make it look like he's got something to hide. And Garth, he's betting everything on the fact he doesn't. So where does this leave us? With a legal showdown that's going to get nastier, messier, and more vindictive before it's over. But now I turn things over to you. Into who do you believe? Is Garth Brooks being smeared by a bitter employee who didn't get her way? Or is Deborah Williams a genuine victim up against a powerful man and a legal machine? Here are some thoughts for you to ponder in the comment section below. Do the letters and shifting demands make Deborah look like a victim or an opportunist? Was Garth justified in naming Deborah Williams after she first made his identity public? And those texts, are they really proof of wrongdoing, or is Deborah Williams using them to paint a false picture? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. This one's got more layers than a country song about heartbreak, and I want to know what you think. Until next time, I've been Uncivil Law, and remember to keep it uncivil out there.